Baseball, baseball fans, buckle up, because what you're about to experience isn't just a daily slate. This is July 19th in Major League Baseball, and it's loaded with playoff-level energy. Every pitch is a statement. Every swing is a message. From elite aces to under-the-radar bats, the Diamond today will host battles of momentum, grit, and pure fire. We've got the Yankees and Braves colliding in a clash of titans, the Cubs storming into Fenway to silence the Sox, and the Mariners trying to prove they're for real against the red-hot Astros. This isn't just another day on the calendar, it's a proving ground for teams fighting for their season, for their identity, and for every inch in the standings. We break down all 15 matchups in full depth, pitching duels, lineup matchups, bullpen edges, and where Vegas might be slipping. Who's got the value? Who's a trap? Which totals scream over? And who's ready to go yard? From morning showdowns to primetime thrillers, we've got your blueprint for July 19th, straight from beyond the box score. Let's get to work. The Toronto Blue Jays head to Oracle Park to clash with the San Francisco Giants in what should be a chess match of power versus patience, righty bats versus righty arms, and two lineups that can punish mistakes in different ways. These interleague battles don't come with division juice, but don't be fooled, this is a high-leverage betting spot with serious upside. Let's start with the Blue Jays, who roll into San Francisco with a clear identity crisis. They're stuck in the middle of the AL East and are fighting to stay alive in the wild-card race. But make no mistake, this lineup has teeth. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is heating up in the second half, slashing .324 over his last 10 games with 3 bombs, and if the Giants throw him anything middle in, he'll turn on it. Bo Bichette has been shaky, but he still offers matchup potential against the Giants' soft-tossing righties. Meanwhile, Davis Schneider is becoming a sneaky ops machine against left-handed pitching and should see extra abs in this series. On the mound, Chris Bassitt is expected to start, the veteran righty with a bag of tricks but not a lot of velocity. Bassitt's recent outings have been hit or miss. He gave up 4 runs over 6 innings versus the Yankees, then rebounded with 7 strong against the Athletics. His sinker usage is up, which helps limit the long ball, but the walk rate remains a concern, and San Francisco thrives on patient abs. On the flip side, the Giants are a puzzle box this season. They're near .500 but feel like they're a few breakout weeks from making real noise. The offense has leaned on Matt Chapman, who's quietly been mashing with 8.924 ops since the break and some revenge motivation against his former team. Patrick Bailey is emerging as a consistent offensive threat behind the plate and is slugging .517 in July. But the biggest X factor is Michael Conforto, who has looked locked in lately. 3 homers in his last 6 games and improved pitch recognition that could wreck a finesse guy like Bassitt. The Giants are countering with Keaton Winn, a hard-throwing young righty with filthy movement but command issues. He struck out 8 D-backs in his last outing but also issued 4 walks. If he's wild again, the Jays will load the bases early. But if Winn is in rhythm with that 97 mph sinker-slider combo, he could rack up Ks in bunches. Let's talk data. The Blue Jays rank 13th in MLB in hours per game, 1.13, and 11th in team ops, .733, respectable but volatile. They've crushed lefties but are mid-pack versus right-handers. The Giants are 20th in batting average, .237, but top 10 in walk rate and home run-to-fly ball ratio, meaning they don't hit often, but when they do, it's loud. Oracle Park suppresses offense in general, but right-handed pull power plays better here, which gives a boost to Vladdy and Chapman on both sides. The bullpens are interesting. Toronto's relief era is 3.94, with Yimi Garcia and Chad Green being mostly solid. Jordan Romano remains on the shelf, and that's a major void. San Francisco's bullpen era is 3.88, slightly better on paper, and Camilo Doval can shut the door if the Giants hold a late lead. But both pens have been shaky in the 7th-8th inning window, which could tilt this total toward the over if the starters don't go deep. So how are we betting it? Home run prop of the game, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Plus 400. Vladdy has a 46% fly ball rate over the last 14 days and matches up beautifully against Wynn's tendency to leave sinkers up to righties. He's seen a velocity bump in swing speed recently, and this is a classic matchup for a no-doubt blast to left. Strikeout prop special, Keaton Wynn over 5.5 kiloseconds plus 110. The Jays are prone to the punch-out, 24.3% K rate over the last 10 games, and Wynn's arsenal generates chase. If he gets through 5 innings, 6 kiloseconds is absolutely in play, especially if he mixes the splitter more often to neutralize Bichette and Varsho. Total bases play, Matt Chapman over 1.5 terabytes plus 125. Narrative plus numbers here. Chapman is familiar with the Jays' entire staff, hits fastballs well above league average, and could feast on a late-game matchup against Toronto's middle relief. Best bet, full game over 8 runs minus 105. The market is sleeping on the potential of these bats. Bassett's walk issues plus the Giants' power profile could lead to crooked innings. Wynn is volatile, and if he's off, Toronto's bats will pile on. This feels like a 5-4 or 6-5 game waiting to happen, and both bullpens are just average. SGP Parlay leg suggestions. Vlad Jr. 1+ HR. Chapman 2+ total bases. Wynn 6+ Ks. Over 7.5 total runs. That combo could return serious coin if the game opens up as expected. Oracle might suppress average contact, but not when you square it up. And both lineups have guys who can do just that. Final score prediction, Blue Jays 6, Giants 4. The Blue Jays grind out a road win in a game that sees momentum shift multiple times. Bassett navigates 5 innings with minimal damage, the bullpen bends but doesn't break, and Vladdy delivers the dagger in the 8th. Keaton Wynn shows flashes but gets undone by command in the 3rd, and the Giants' rally falls short late. Let's head to Kauffman for a low-key but sneakily intriguing interleague clash between the Miami Marlins and the Kansas City Royals. On paper, this matchup won't draw national headlines, but make no mistake, there's money to be made, angles to be exploited, and narratives flying under the radar. The Royals are trending as one of the AL's better home value teams this season, while the Marlins remain a work in progress trying to find traction amid a transitional phase. But matchups like these are where edges are born and profits are stolen. Kansas City is expected to hand the ball to Alec Marsh, who's gradually grown into a more trusted arm in this rotation. Marsh doesn't overpower hitters with velocity, but he locates well and leans on a developing sweeper to neutralize right-handed bats. He's posted a 4.07 ERA through 89 innings this season, but his numbers at home tell a better story. Just a 3.42 ERA at Kauffman with a much better command profile. He's been serviceable and smart in his pitch sequencing, especially when facing bottom-half lineups like Miami's. In a perfect world, he limits hard contact early and rides a Royals defense that's quietly improved in efficiency this year, especially in the infield where Bobby Witt Jr. and Michael Garcia have been sensational. On the flip side, Miami will likely go with right-hander Trevor Rogers, who continues his climb back to consistency after battling injuries and control issues in previous seasons. Rogers has been frustrating to project, electric at times, erratic at others. He enters with a 5.26 ERA across 15 starts and has allowed too many walks, which is a major concern facing a Royals team that's showing more patience and plate discipline than they have in recent years. Kansas City ranks among the top 10 in MLB in first pitch swing percentage, but they've recently toned that aggression and are forcing opposing pitchers into deeper counts, not ideal for a hurler like Rogers who struggles to stay ahead. Kansas City's offense is the clear separator in this game. Witt Jr. is blossoming into a top 10 MVP candidate with his all-fields power and elite base running. He's batting .314 with 17 hours and 28 steals, and he crushes lefties to the tune of 8.955 ops. He's supported by Salvador Perez's pop and MJ Melendez's resurgence at the plate. Add in the pesky presence of Dairon Blanco and Michael Garcia at the top of the order, and you have a Royals lineup that can scratch runs through contact, speed, and timely slug. That's exactly the formula that gives Miami headaches. The Marlins, meanwhile, are still figuring out their offensive identity. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has shown flashes of his all-star level, but he's also cooled considerably, and his OBP hovers under .320. Jake Berger and Josh Bell are providing decent pop in the middle, but consistency is the issue. Miami ranks in the bottom 5 in MLB in runs scored, slugging, and ops. They've also been miserable with RISP in the month of July, converting just 21% of scoring opportunities over their last 10 games. That's not what you want going into a series against a team that can manufacture momentum quickly. Bullpen-wise, Kansas City has the edge again. James McArthur is settling in as a viable ninth-inning option, and the supporting cast of Will Smith, Angel Zerpa, and Chris Stratton has stabilized nicely. Miami's bullpen has been one of the league's worst all season, with a revolving door of unreliable middle relievers. They've blown 16 save opportunities and hold a collective 4.83 ERA as a unit, which becomes a critical red flag in close game projections. Let's also not ignore the base running and defense components. Kansas City leads MLB in stolen base efficiency and ranks third in Fangraphs base running value metrics. Miami, on the other hand, ranks 22nd. In a tight game, those extra 90 feet, or the pressure it creates, can be the difference. Now let's break down the lines and betting angles. Oddsmakers have Kansas City as short home favorites in the -135 range with the total set at 9. That's a sharp number given the volatility of both starters, but the Royals' offensive edge, bullpen stability, and situational advantages give them the clear lean. We expect the public to split on this game due to name recognition and the misleading idea that Trevor Rogers has a higher ceiling than Marsh. But consistency beats ceiling in July. And Kansas City is the more reliable unit top to bottom. Here's where the value lives. Best bet, Royals ML -135 or better. Kansas City is 8-2 in their last 10 home games against left-handed starters. They've also cashed the moneyline in 12 of their last 15 home games where they were favored between -120 and -150. The line isn't inflated, and the matchup tilts heavily toward KC's ability to score first and hold leads. Run line value, Royals -1.5 plus 145. It's a bold play, but this is one of those spots where the Royals could pile on if they get into Miami's bullpen early. With the Marlins averaging just 2.9 runs over their last 8 road games, there's a pathway to a 5-2 or 6-3 kind of win. Total lean, under 9. The Royals' offense is efficient but not explosive. Marsh is decent enough to hold Miami under 3 runs, and if Rogers can avoid walking the farm, this game could stay comfortably under the number. But this is a lean, not a lock. Keep an eye on wind patterns at Kauffman. Home run prop pick, Bobby Witt Jr. Plus 450. He's absolutely locked in, and he mashes lefties. He's also due for a big fly at home. Don't be shocked if he takes Rogers deep in the 3rd or 5th. Total bases prop, Michael Garcia over 1.5 terabytes plus 135. Garcia has recorded multiple bases in 7 of his last 10 home games and has been terrorizing soft-throwing lefties like Rogers. Strikeout prop, Alec Marsh over 4.5 kiloseconds plus 100. The Marlins whiff a lot against breaking pitches, and Marsh has quietly increased his K% over the last month, especially at home. SGP Parlay leg, Royals ML plus Witt Jr. to record a hit plus under 10.5 total runs. This safe same-game parlay builds on the Royals' edge while managing total volatility. Final score prediction, Royals 5, Marlins 2. Kansas City has the sharper edges across the board, from the bump to the bullpen to the bats. Unless Rogers spins a gem, which hasn't happened in a while. This is KC's game to lose. Back the Royals, fade the noise, and stay sharp. If you're circling just one game on the July 19th MLB slate that screams chaos, fireworks, and betting opportunity, it's this one. Mets vs. Reds. Two franchises with playoff aspirations teetering on a razor's edge of potential and collapse. Two pitching staffs that can either dominate or detonate. And two lineups stacked with swing for the fences talent. This one at Great American Ballpark might be the most volatile betting line of the day, and that's exactly where smart money can get an edge. Let's start with the Mets. New York enters this game with a 48-48 record, sitting around the .500 mark, still within striking distance in the NL wildcard race. But they've been frustratingly inconsistent. One night they smash 5 homers, the next they strand 12 runners. They just dropped 2 of 3 to the Braves, and now they're desperate to bounce back. Luckily for them, they're sending Jose Quintana to the mound. He's been the definition of steady, with a 3.88 ERA across 18 starts and a whip of 1.25. He doesn't overpower, but he induces weak contact, keeps the ball in the park, and forces teams to string together hits, which the Reds have struggled to do lately. Speaking of Cincinnati, the Reds are 47-50, just a few games under .500, but their trajectory is worrisome. They've lost 7 of their last 10, including a brutal home sweep at the hands of the Cubs. The bats are quiet, the bullpen is taxed, and their youth is showing. Andrew Abbott gets the nod today, and while his 4.01 ERA looks okay on the surface, his FIP 4.62 tells a darker story. He's been hit hard lately, especially by right-handed hitters, who are slashing .281, .352, .511 against him in his last 5 starts. That spells trouble against a Mets lineup that features scorching hot Francisco Lindor, who's got 5 homers and 13 RBI in his last 10 games. Pete Alonso. He's always a long ball threat, and Brandon Nimmo is seeing the ball like it's beach ball sized. He's drawn 9 walks in the last week. Add in J.D. Martinez, and suddenly the Mets look top-heavy and dangerous. And here's where this game tilts. The Reds' bullpen ranks 27th in ERA over the last 30 days. If Abbott doesn't go deep, expect fireworks from the 6th inning on. Now let's talk total. The over-under is sitting at 9.5, and it's tempting to lean over considering the ballpark and the pitching volatility. Great American Ballpark is a launching pad, especially in the dog days of July. Wind blowing out, hot and humid weather, and thin bullpen depth on both sides. That's a recipe for overs to hit. The Mets average 5.8 runs per game in wins, and the Reds give up 6.2 runs per game in losses. Even if this starts as a pitcher's duel, it won't end that way. If you're targeting props, look hard at Alonso and Lindor. Alonso against lefties like Abbott has an OPS over .900, and he's hit 22 of his 30 homers this season against southpaws. Lindor, meanwhile, has multi-hit games in 4 of his last 6 and has been red-hot in July. On the Reds' side, Elly De La Cruz is always a threat to change the game with one swing or one sprint. He's struggled lately, but he's due, and no one wants to be the team he breaks out against. Strikeout props. Quintana isn't a big K guy, but against a Reds team that strikes out the 3rd most in the NL, he could go 5+ Ks easily. Abbott, on the other hand, has seen his strikeout numbers drop, just 13 in his last 17 innings, so the under on his K prop might be the sneaky move. And don't ignore the run line value here. The Mets minus 1.5 is sitting at plus 145, and if they get to Abbott early, that line could look like a gift. The Reds don't play well from behind, they're just 11-31 when trailing after 4 innings. Conversely, the Mets are 36-9 when leading after the 5th. This game could be decided early, and if it is, the Mets bats will be the reason. Final score prediction: Mets 7, Reds 4. Best bets: Mets ML minus 122. Over 9.5 runs minus 110. Pete Alonso to hit hour +340. Jose Quintana over 4.5 strikeouts +105. Mets -1.5 +145 for value seekers. Beyond the box score, and tonight it's saying one thing loud and clear: fade the Reds bullpen, back the Mets' right-handed power, and expect fireworks under the Cincinnati lights. The Philadelphia Phillies and Los Angeles Angels meet in a compelling interleague showdown on July 19, bringing together a battle-tested Phillies squad fighting to maintain their NL East crown and a retooling Angels club seeking direction post-Ohtani era. What makes this game more intriguing is how both teams, despite being on different tiers of contention, match up in ways that could influence betting angles, pitcher performance expectations, and even hidden fantasy or prop value. This is one of those matchups that tests not only form but resilience under the weight of July pressure. The Phillies enter with one of the best records in baseball, powered by a deep, balanced roster that's executing across all phases. Zach Wheeler gets the nod for Philly, and he's been nothing short of electric this season. Coming into this start, Wheeler is rocking a 2.71 ERA, a 0.98 WHIP, and an elite strikeout-to-walk ratio. He's pitched like a true ace, with opponents batting under .200 against him in his last 6 outings. Wheeler's command has been the real separator, working both edges, expanding late counts, and using that high-velocity four-seamer to neutralize power bats. The Angels' current roster isn't especially equipped to handle aces with velocity and bite, especially considering their poor chase rate and elevated whiff percentages against right-handed pitching. On the other side, left-hander Tyler Anderson will take the mound for the Angels. Anderson's had a very serviceable season, with a 3.12 ERA and an impressive ability to avoid barrels despite below-average strikeout numbers. He's become a contact manager, relying heavily on soft fly balls and weak grounders. His changeup has been devastating against lefties, but his biggest concern here is the righty-heavy power of the Phillies. Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, J.T. Realmuto, if active, and even Edmundo Sosa have good track records against soft-tossing lefties who live in the lower quadrants of the zone. Expect the Phillies to game plan heavily to lift the ball against Anderson and chase him early. Offensively, the Phillies continue to roll with one of the league's most consistent lineups. Bryce Harper is in MVP form, slashing .302, .396, .543 with 20-plus homers, and he's been especially dominant against left-handed pitchers, an area where he's historically notched above league average power and ops splits. Kyle Schwarber, while boom or bust, has found his groove in July with multiple leadoff homers. Even Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott have contributed key at-bats, stretching this lineup from top to bottom. The Phillies rank in the top 5 in team ops, ISO, and runs scored per game. With their ability to slug late and wear down bullpens, they're never out of a game. The Angels, meanwhile, are still a team in transition. Mike Trout remains sidelined, and their offensive engine is being carried by Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, and Taylor Ward. They've shown some fight, especially against below-average arms, but against elite pitching like Wheeler's, the cracks begin to show. Their walk rate is among the worst in the majors, and their strikeout rate versus right-handers has hovered near 26%. That's not a recipe for success against a pitcher with elite command and a deep arsenal. Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell have had flashes, but the lack of lineup depth and discipline makes them vulnerable in late-game leverage situations. Let's talk bullpens, another major edge for Philadelphia. The Phillies' bullpen ranks in the top 6 in ERA and opponent batting average since June, with Jose Alvarado, Matt Strahm, Jeff Hoffman, and Gregory Soto forming a dominant left-right mix that closes games efficiently. Craig Kimbrell may be aging, but he's still serviceable in lower leverage spots. Meanwhile, the Angels' bullpen is among the worst in baseball by almost every advanced metric, 29th in xFIP, 28th in WHIP, and bottom 5 in save percentage. Their relievers tend to walk too many and lack dominant swing and miss stuff. If this game is close after 6, the Phillies should pull away. Now to the metrics that bettors care about: run differential, home-road splits, in recent form. The Phillies are plus 110 in run differential on the year and 26-18 on the road. They've covered the run line in 61% of wins when facing sub-.500 teams. Conversely, the Angels are minus 88 in run differential and under .500 at home. When facing teams with winning records, they've lost 70% of those matchups outright this season. The Phillies have been profitable ATS on the road, especially against left-handed starters. From a betting standpoint, all arrows point toward Philly on the run line. The total, currently set at 8.5, is a trickier play. While Wheeler could blank the Angels, the Phillies could do heavy lifting solo if Anderson gets knocked around early. Player props to monitor: Bryce Harper total bases and Kyle Schwarber to hit a home run. Harper has been raking off changeups and low fastballs, both of which are Anderson's go-to pitches. Schwarber has a well-documented affinity for left-handers who work the bottom half, and this is one of those matchups where he could lead off the game with a bang. On the Angels side, Taylor Ward total bases may have value if you're looking for a contrarian prop, but the matchup doesn't favor many of their bats. This is a game where class and depth are likely to prevail. The Phillies are on a mission, not just to win the NL East, but to return to the World Series. Games like these are where that focus sharpens. Expect Zach Wheeler to dominate through 7, the offense to hang 5+ runs, and the bullpen to seal it. It's the kind of performance that reinforces why the Phillies are one of baseball's elite. Prediction: Phillies 6, Angels 2. Best bets: Phillies minus 1.5 run line, Harper over 1.5 total bases, Schwarber to hit a home run. Lean: under 8.5 if you trust Wheeler to deal and bullpen to lock it down. If you're looking for value in an otherwise overlooked matchup, the clash between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Chicago White Sox on July 19 might be exactly where the sharp money lands. Two rebuilding teams, two underwhelming records, and one chaotic betting opportunity with juicy prop value. But don't sleep on this. These are the kind of games that often reveal the most exploitable edges, especially when the public is too distracted by marquee matchups. And here's where beyond the box score comes in to slice through the noise. Let's begin with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They come in at 47-51, floating just outside of the wild card discussion, and though this season hasn't screamed playoffs, this is a scrappy, high-variance squad capable of upsetting projections. Their recent play has been inconsistent, but they've held their own when their young starters keep the walks down. The Pirates are 5-5 in their last 10 and are coming off a narrow loss to the Brewers, but the offense is showing signs of life, especially with Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz heating up in the middle of the order. Reynolds, who's batting .281 with 17 homers and 8.824 ops, remains one of the most consistent lefty bats in the National League. Cruz, finally healthy and starting to time up fastballs again, is making a habit of launching missiles into right center. Against a White Sox pitching staff that ranks bottom 3 in team ERA and WHIP, this could be a breakout night for the Bucs offense. The Pirates average 4.18 runs per game, which doesn't jump off the page, but they rank 6th in average exit velocity and 9th in barrels per plate appearance. If those trends hold, we could see a crooked number posted by Pittsburgh early. And then there's rookie sensation Paul Skeens, who's expected to take the mound for this one. What can we say about this kid that hasn't already been said? He's pumping triple digits with command, mixing in a devastating splitter that's making even veteran hitters look lost. Skeens has a 2.63 ERA, a 1.01 WHIP, and a K9 rate that flirts with 12. He's holding opponents to 8.191 batting average, and most importantly, he's going deep into games. If he brings his usual 6 to 7 innings of dominance, the Pirates' bullpen, a top 10 group in xFIP and lob percent since the All-Star break, won't be overly taxed. That's crucial for keeping the White Sox at bay. Speaking of Chicago, things are not pretty. At 31-67, this might be the worst team in baseball. They've lost 8 of their last 10, they're dead last in OBP, and their team batting average of .217 is a clear indicator that even when they do make contact, it's soft. The White Sox offense ranks 30th in WRC+, slugging, and runs scored. It's a black hole of production, and unless Luis Robert Jr. or Eloy Jimenez goes off, they have a hard time manufacturing even 3 runs. On the bump for Chicago is Eric Feta, who's actually been a bright spot amid the darkness. Feta has a 3.45 ERA and has developed a nasty sweeper since his return from Korea, which has helped him induce soft contact and manage traffic. But here's the thing, he's due for some regression. His BABIP is unusually low, .256, and his ZERA is closer to 4.20. Against a Pirates lineup that is aggressively pulling fastballs and feasting on mistake sliders, this might be the start where he cracks. The worst in MLB. If Feta can't go 7+ innings, this could get ugly. Now let's talk betting value. The Pirates are listed at -145 on the money line, and that's still playable. There's sharp action pushing this line closer to -160, which means early value is worth locking in. The run line at -1.5 +115 is also interesting, especially if you believe Skeens can dominate and the offense can pile on late. The total is sitting at 8.5, and with Skeens on the mound and Chicago's offensive ineptitude, the under is tempting. But beware, if the Pirates get to the bullpen early, they could drop a 5 or 6 spot on their own. So the team total over 4.5 runs for the Pirates is the safest angle here. Prop-wise, we're looking at a few spots. Brian Reynolds over 1.5 total bases at +125 is an auto play. He's had 5 multi-hit games in his last 8 and is seeing the ball well. O'Neal Cruz to hit a home run at +420 is worth a sprinkle. He's mashed sliders and hanging sweepers lately, and Feta could give him one. And for Skeens, over 7.5 strikeouts is the play. He's hit that in 6 of his last 7 starts, and the White Sox strike out 26.8% of the time against righties, worst in baseball. From a same-game parlay angle, consider Pirates ML plus Skeens 8+ Ks plus Reynolds 2+ hits. That'll cash you a ticket near +500 odds if everything breaks right. Also consider laddering Skeens strikeouts up to 10+ for extra juice. Final prediction: the Pirates are just too disciplined, too talented on the mound, and too opportunistic offensively for the White Sox to keep pace. Chicago might hang around early, but once Feta exits, the floodgates could open. Final score prediction: Pirates 6, White Sox 2. Stay tuned, Beyond the Box score is just getting warmed up. This is where stats meet strategy, and value meets victory. San Diego is back home and licking its wounds after dropping a tough road series, while the Washington Nationals make the long flight west after a gritty home stretch. And in this matchup between a rebuilding squad and an underperforming contender, the question isn't just, who wins? It's, where's the edge? Let's dive deep, beyond the box score. The Padres enter this one clinging to .500 like it's their lifeline. They're too talented to be average, yet that's what they've been all year. Despite boasting a top-heavy lineup with Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and Jurickson Profar all contributing at different times, the Padres are still hunting consistency. San Diego's bullpen has been shaky of late, blowing 3 saves over the last 10 games. Offensively, they're 16th in runs per game but rank top 10 in slugging at home. That's important, because if there's one place this team feels alive, it's Petco Park. Meanwhile, Washington is in full experimentation mode. The Nats are young, hungry, and feisty. Led by C.J. Abrams, who's starting to look like a franchise cornerstone, and Lane Thomas returning to form, they've been scrappy, especially against right-handed pitching. The key issue is their starting pitching. Their rotation owns one of the worst eras in baseball on the road, and their bullpen has been even more volatile than the Padres. Yet, when you least expect it, Washington can shock you with a multi-homer performance from the middle of their order. Just ask the Cardinals. Starting on the mound for the Padres is right-hander Michael King. When King is locked in, he's unhittable. His fastball-slider combo can saw through lineups, and he's got a 2.91 ERA at home this season. But command has been his biggest enemy. Over his last 5 starts, King has walked at least 3 batters in 3 of them, and that's led to elevated pitch counts and early exits. Still, he'll be licking his chops against a Nationals team that ranks 25th in ops against righties on the road. On the flip side, Washington sends out DJ Herz, a young southpaw with a ton of promise, and just as much volatility. Herz has flashed elite strikeout stuff, but he's averaging per start and has struggled to avoid the big inning. His ERA sits above 5.50 on the road, and that's concerning against a Padres team that crushes left-handed pitching. San Diego ranks 6th in WRC plus vs Southpaws and has hit 19 home runs in their last 10 games against lefties. So, what does this mean for our picks? King's strikeout prop is worth targeting. Washington strikes out nearly 9 times per game on the road, and King has reached 7+ Ks in 4 of his last 6 home starts. A line at 6.5 strikeouts is playable at plus money. For DJ Herz, however, the under on outs recorded could be sharp. If his line opens at 15.5, the under is worth a look, especially considering the Padres' first-inning scoring trend at home. The total opened at 8.5, and that feels just right. But if you trust King to limit early damage and the Nats to struggle on the road, the under 4.5 on Washington's team total has value. That's hit in 6 of their last 9 road games. As for player props, Fernando Tatis Jr. has been red-hot at Petco, slugging over .600 in night games this season. A total bases prop at over 1.5 is in play. C.J. Abrams, playing against his former team, could be a sneaky value for a stolen base prop if he reaches. San Diego's catcher situation hasn't been great at stopping base runners. This game may not scream playoff implications, but for bettors, it's a goldmine of inefficiencies. The Padres are better on paper, better at home, and facing a lefty they can exploit. But if King's command wavers, the Nationals' young core can pounce quickly. Best bets: Michael King over 6.5 strikeouts. DJ Herz under 15.5 outs recorded. Under 4.5 team total, Nationals. Fernando Tatis Jr. Over 1.5 total bases. Bonus SGP leg options. Padres ML. Tatis to record a hit. King 6+ strikeouts. Game total under 9.5. Final score prediction: Padres 6, Nationals 2. This AL East showdown might just be the most underappreciated brawl on the board today. 2 teams heading in different directions meet in Camden Yards with more than just division pride on the line. The Orioles are once again punching above their payroll, clawing through a deep American League with young stars, elite bullpen arms, and a gritty, never-say-die mentality that's become their identity. Meanwhile, the Rays are trying to resurrect their season with patches of brilliance, but their inconsistent offense and thinned-out rotation continue to raise red flags. These teams have already traded blows several times this season, and each game has delivered razor-thin margins. Expect another surgical battle here, dictated by bullpens, 1 or 2 timely hits, and some serious managerial chess. Let's start on the mound, where Baltimore will likely trot out right-hander Grayson Rodriguez, who's been showing flashes of ace-level stuff with his fastball touching 98 and a nasty changeup that induces grounders like clockwork. His July has been sharp. Over his last 3 starts, he's worked 18.2 innings with just 3 earned runs and a 19.5 KBB ratio. When he's in rhythm, Rodriguez can dominate with heavy arm side run and late sink, particularly effective against right-handed bats. The Rays struggle with power arms, and Rodriguez's whiff rate against righties north of 30% makes this a potential mismatch if Tampa can't get on base early. On the other side, Tampa is likely sending Taj Bradley or a bullpen game starter, both of which put them at a clear disadvantage from an innings-eating perspective. Bradley has electric stuff when he's locating, but his command lapses have led to high pitch counts and early exits, which forces the Rays to overextend their bullpen, a troubling pattern that's cost them several late-inning leads this month. The offenses tell an equally intriguing story. The Orioles are red-hot behind Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, who've quietly become one of the best lefty-righty combos in baseball. Henderson's power has exploded this month. He's hit 5 home runs in his last 10 games and leads all AL shortstops in slugging since the All-Star break. Rutschman, meanwhile, continues to post elite plate discipline numbers with a walk rate over 12% and one of the league's best chase rates. What makes Baltimore so dangerous isn't just the top of the order, it's the timely contributions from depth guys like Colton Cowser, Ryan Mountcastle, and Jordan Westburg, who are all capable of taking advantage of mistake pitches and soft middle relievers. Tampa's lineup is far more volatile. While Isaac Paredes continues to rake with his team-leading ops, the Rays' overall offensive production is streaky. Randy Arozarena's power numbers are down, and Wander Franco remains inconsistent. If the Rays don't strike early, they could be facing the daunting trio of Yennier Cano, Danny Coulombe, and Craig Kimbrell, a bullpen that's quietly been one of the best in baseball over the last month. What really separates these teams, however, is execution in high-leverage spots. Baltimore ranks top 5 in MLB in batting average with runners in scoring position since June 15. Tampa, by contrast, ranks bottom 10 in the same span. This tells the tale of two teams, one that thrives in big moments, and another that gets stuck leaving ducks on the pond. Tampa Bay's bullpen, once a strength, has been worn thin by overuse, particularly against lefty bats, where their middle relief has allowed 8.297 average and 1.39 whip over the last 30 days. Against a Baltimore squad loaded with left-handed pop, that's a nightmare matchup. Defensively, both teams are above average, but Baltimore gets the slight edge in range and outfield efficiency. Cedric Mullins covers elite ground in center, and Jordan Westburg has shown surprising lateral agility at third. For Tampa, defensive metrics favor their infield. Franco and Paredes make routine plays look easy, but their outfield has been slightly below average in holding runners and preventing doubles down the lines. From a betting standpoint, this game offers several angles. The Orioles should be around -140 on the moneyline, and given their matchup advantage on the mound and at the plate, they're worth the chalk at home. The total should open around 8.5, which is worth watching closely. If Taj Bradley starts, the over becomes tempting, especially if Tampa's bullpen is already gassed entering this game. For props, look at Gunnar Henderson to go over 1.5 total bases. He's on a heater and matches up well against Tampa's fastball-heavy staff. Another quiet value is Adley Rutschman to record 2+ hits or walk. He sees more pitches per at-bat than nearly anyone in the league and could feast against tired arms. This is one of those matchups where everything points to a team that's just clicking on all cylinders. The Orioles are healthier, deeper, more efficient in key moments, and have the best pitcher in the matchup. They've also won 5 of their last 6 against the Rays at Camden, and the environment at home has boosted their run differential by over 1.2 compared to their road splits. Tampa is feisty, they'll manufacture chances, but against a bullpen this nasty and a top-heavy Baltimore lineup in rhythm, they're going to need a flawless performance to escape with a win. Prediction: Orioles 6, Rays 3. Best bets: Orioles ML, over 8.5, if Bradley starts, Henderson 2+ total bases, Rutschman to walk or record 2 hits. The Texas Rangers and the Detroit Tigers square off in a compelling American League battle that offers much more than meets the eye. One team is clawing its way back into playoff contention, while the other is fighting to stay afloat in a Crowded wild card race. These mid-July matchups often fly under the radar, but savvy bettors and baseball junkies know the edge is often found in the margins, bullpen fatigue, travel schedules, platoon advantages, and subtle splits. Let's break it all down. Texas comes into this one with a renewed sense of purpose. After a sluggish start to the summer, the Rangers have been swinging hotter bats and getting decent length out of their starting pitchers. Offensively, they're anchored by Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia, both of whom have been surging. Semien's bat has heated up over the past 10 games, hitting over .340 with multi-hit games in 6 of them. He's been particularly dangerous against right-handed pitching, which gives him a strong edge here against the Tigers' probable starter Reese Olson. Garcia, meanwhile, has belted 3 homers in the last week, and Detroit's Comerica Park dimensions don't faze him much. His slugging isn't park-dependent. Meanwhile, Josh Jung is beginning to find his rhythm again at third base after coming off an extended injury stint earlier in the season. His ability to barrel up fastballs and chase less has helped cut down on the swing and miss problems that plagued him pre-injury. Behind them, Texas continues to get solid if unspectacular contributions from Jonah Heim, Leody Taveras, and rookie Wyatt Langford, who has flashed elite speed and good gap-to-gap contact. On the mound, Nathan Eovaldi is expected to get the start for Texas. He's coming off back-to-back quality starts, holding both the Rays and A's to 2 earned runs or fewer. Eovaldi's veteran poise, ability to limit hard contact, and sharp cutter curveball combo are a good fit to disrupt a young Detroit lineup that ranks near the bottom of the league in runs per game at home. His command has been razor sharp lately, and he's been particularly tough on right-handed hitters. Detroit has a heavy righty lean in its core. Detroit, meanwhile, is looking for consistency. They've struggled at home against top-tier arms, and their offense lives and dies with Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter. Green, who is arguably their most dynamic offensive weapon, continues to show flashes of greatness but hasn't found his stride post-All-Star break. His OPS has dipped under .740, and his strikeout rate is trending in the wrong direction. Carpenter, on the other hand, has been quietly putting together a nice July, hitting .295 with a couple bombs and multiple doubles. The issue? The Tigers don't have enough protection behind them. Spencer Torkelson has struggled mightily this season, with his average hovering near the Mendoza line and his hard hit rate plummeting. Detroit fans expected a breakout, but it hasn't materialized. Colt Keith, who started the season with high expectations as well, has shown growth but remains inconsistent. And without a reliable DH threat or true table setter at the top of the order, Detroit often finds itself stringing together hopeful 2-out rallies rather than building early inning pressure. Then there's the bullpen. Texas has had its meltdowns, but recently, the back end has stabilized. Kirby Yates has taken over as the de facto closer and is flashing vintage stuff. His splitter has become nearly unhittable when he's ahead in the count. Jose Leclerc and David Robertson have been dependable in the 7th and 8th, and Bruce Bochy seems to have finally established some rhythm in late-game situations. Detroit's bullpen is a different story. Jason Foley and Alex Lang have both been unreliable in save situations, and A.J. Hinch has had to lean more heavily on long relievers like Tyler Holton and Bo Brieske, often in high-leverage spots they're not suited for. If Olson can't give Detroit 6 strong innings, it could be a long night for Tigers fans. Olson has talent, his whiff rate on his slider is above league average, but his command has been iffy lately, walking 3 or more in each of his last 4 starts. And against a Texas team that knows how to work deep counts and punish mistakes, that could be the difference. One major factor worth watching: Detroit's poor infield defense. They rank among the league's worst in defensive runs saved, particularly on the left side with Keith and Baez. Texas hits a lot of ground balls, and if the Tigers give up extra outs, those are runs waiting to happen. Let's talk betting. Texas opened as slight road favorites at -120 on the moneyline, while the total sits at 8.5. The over might tempt you, given both bullpens' vulnerabilities, but keep in mind Eovaldi's recent dominance and the Tigers' poor home offensive splits. This one screams first 5 innings value. Look for Texas to get on the board early and for Eovaldi to hold it down. A solid lean is Texas first 5 -0.5, with a sprinkle on Marcus Semien to record 2+ hits and Adolis Garcia to go yard. Final score prediction: Rangers 6, Tigers 2. Texas controls the tempo, Eovaldi delivers 6+ strong innings, and the Tigers bullpen gives up some insurance runs late. Look for Semien to be the spark, Garcia to do damage, and Texas to take another step toward heating up the AL playoff race. Let's not sugarcoat it, this one might not have the media flash, but if you're betting or hunting for value, Cleveland versus Oakland is exactly the game you want to dissect. One team is laser-focused on staying atop their division, and the other playing spoiler with grit and unexpected clutch swings. That's where the trap, and the opportunity, lies. Let's start with the Guardians. They're 55-44, holding down the AL Central lead by their fingernails, and playing like they've got something to prove every night. Their offense, underrated and relentless. Jose Ramirez continues to torch left-handed pitching, and Josh Naylor is barreling up balls with a top 10 hard hit rate over the last 30 days. Add Steven Kwan's on-base consistency at the top and you get a team that doesn't need to be flashy to put up 5+ runs. Now look at the mound. Cleveland sends Tristan McKenzie out, and he's been shaky in July. A 5.94 ERA over his last 3 starts and issues keeping the ball in the yard. He's giving up 1.7 HR9 since June 1st. That's a red flag. But here's the twist. He faces the worst road offense in the league in the A's. Oakland is hitting .207 on the road with an OBP barely scratching .290. That's not going to cut it. Flip the script to Oakland, and while they're deep in rebuild mode at 37-62, they've shown flashes. Brent Rooker's power is legit, with 17 hours and a slugging percentage above .500 in July. Tyler Soderstrom is heating up too, and don't sleep on Miguel Andujar, who's putting together consistent contact over the last couple of weeks. But consistency is the problem. They've struck out the second most times in the AL and rank bottom 3 in run production in the first 5 innings. Pitching for the A's is lefty J.P. Sears, who's sitting with a 4.72 ERA but has been weirdly effective in his last 2 starts. He's mixing in more cutters, holding hitters under 8.250 average in July. But against a Guardians squad that has the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. That's a nightmare matchup. Cleveland is going to force him into deep counts, and he won't make it past 5 innings without traffic on the bases. Let's talk betting. Run line. Guardians -1.5 +100 is the lean here. They've covered the spread in 12 of their last 18 home wins. When they win by multiple runs. Total, set at 8.5. I'm leaning under here. Both teams struggle in early innings and the bullpens, especially Cleveland's, have been sharp lately. The under is 10-4 in Guardians' last 14 home games. First 5, Guardians F5 -0.5 -120 is juicy. You avoid their bullpen volatility and capitalize on their lineup working counts against Sears. Props you need on your radar. Jose Ramirez over 1.5 total bases. He's 7 for his last 15 against lefties with 3 doubles. Great matchup versus Sears. Josh Naylor to record an RBI, hitting .346 with RISP since June. Love him in the 4-hole against this staff. Brent Rooker to hit a home run, +550. He's launched 3 in his last 8 games and feasts on elevated fastballs, which McKenzie has been serving up. SGP Parlay angle. Guardians ML plus Ramirez hit plus Naylor RBI equals strong plus money parlay with real-world upside and matchup-based logic. Bullpen watch. Cleveland's bullpen ranks top 3 in ERA and WHIP since July 1st. Clase and Sandlin have shut down the 8th and 9th innings. Oakland. Not so much, they've blown 5 saves in July and walk way too many hitters late. That's the biggest edge if this game is tight after 6. Final score prediction. Guardians 5, Athletics 2. Cleveland does enough against Sears early, and McKenzie survives 5 innings before the bullpen shuts the door. It's not going to be fireworks, but it's a grind-it-out, professional win for the AL Central leaders. It's an interleague showdown at Fenway Park, and the historic backdrop just adds to the intensity as the Chicago Cubs roll into Boston to take on the Red Sox in what could be one of the most underrated pitching battles of the day. The Cubs are expected to send out their reliable veteran Jameson Taillon, who's quietly been putting together one of the best stretches of his career this season. Across 15 starts, Taillon owns a sharp 3.05 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP, and he's allowed just 7 home runs in over 88 innings. His pitch mix has looked crisp, he's inducing weak contact, and his cutter-slider combo has given right-handed batters fits. Opponents are batting under .240 against him over his last 5 starts, and his command has been clean. On the other side, the Red Sox are countering with the electric Tanner Houck. This guy has been Boston's rock in the rotation. A 2.68 ERA with a ridiculous 0.99 WHIP, Houck has elite strikeout-to-walk numbers and has gone at least 6 innings in 14 of his 18 starts. At Fenway, he's been even better, posting a 2.35 ERA with 63 strikeouts in 61 innings. His slider is one of the best pitches in baseball by whiff rate, and against a Cubs team that struggles against high-spin breaking balls, that's a potential game-breaker. Let's zoom in on the offenses. The Cubs are still trying to find their rhythm. They've been middle of the pack in run production, but their biggest weakness has been hitting with runners in scoring position. Cody Bellinger has shown signs of life, hitting .315 over the past 10 games, and Seiya Suzuki continues to slug, but beyond that, the Cubs are relying too heavily on walks and small ball to scrape across runs. Dansby Swanson has been inconsistent, and Chicago desperately needs more from the bottom of their order. That's a tough formula when you're facing someone like Houck. The Red Sox offense, meanwhile, is humming. Jarren Duran is arguably having an all-star caliber season, sitting near the top of the league in extra base hits and total bases. Rafael Devers has hit 5 home runs over the last 2 weeks and continues to torch fastballs, while rookie Ceddanne Rafaela has brought a much-needed jolt of energy with timely hits and plus defense. With Masataka Yoshida back healthy, this lineup is a tough puzzle to solve. Boston ranks 4th in MLB in batting average and 6th in slugging percentage since the All-Star break. Defensively, the edge also leans Boston. They've been one of the better fielding teams in the American League, while the Cubs have had issues with throwing errors and outfield routes, especially in clutch moments. Behind the plate, Connor Wong has developed into a solid game caller for Boston, and his framing has been elite, giving their starters a clear boost. Chicago's Yan Gomes, while experienced, has struggled with passed balls and controlling the running game. Now, let's talk bullpens. If this game is close after 6 innings, the Red Sox definitely have the edge. Their bullpen has emerged as a quiet strength, anchored by Kenley Jansen, who still knows how to slam the door with his cutter. Justin Slayton and Brennan Bernardino have been great in setup roles, keeping the ball on the ground and limiting big innings. The Cubs' bullpen, by contrast, is volatile. Hector Neris has blown multiple saves, and Mark Leiter Jr. has been overused due to the lack of reliable middle relief. They've walked too many batters late in games, and that's a killer against a Boston lineup that thrives on grinding out at bats in the 8th and 9th. From a betting perspective, the numbers line up with the eye test. Boston is a -145 favorite on the moneyline, and with Houck's current form, that price makes sense. The over-under is set at 8.5, and sharp money has already come in on the under. Why? You've got 2 starting pitchers who don't walk guys, play in a spacious park with cold weather conditions, and 2 offenses that, while capable, tend to slow down against high-end right-handers. The under has hit in 7 of Houck's last 9 starts, and in Taylor's last 5 road outings. Here's how I'm playing it. I like Boston to win this one outright, and the best value might be in a Red Sox minus 1.5 run line at plus 145. If Houck keeps pitching like this and Devers or Duran get one early off Taylor, this game could tilt quickly. For props, I love Tanner Houck over 6.5 strikeouts. He's hit that number in 9 of his last 11 starts at home, and the Cubs rank in the bottom 10 in strikeout rate versus sliders. On the hitting side, keep an eye on Rafael Devers' total bases over 1.5. He's got a good matchup against Taylor's 4-seamers and has been smoking the ball at Fenway. Final score prediction: give me the Red Sox 5, Cubs 2. Houck shines again, the bullpen shuts it down, and Boston keeps climbing the standings in the AL wildcard race. For the Cubs, the offense continues to leave too many runners stranded, and the bullpen leaks late again. If you're writing this one on your card, Boston ML and the under feel like the sharp combo. The Bronx is about to explode with anticipation. The Atlanta Braves are in town, and that means power bats, pitching finesse, and playoff-level intensity. When these two iconic franchises collide at Yankee Stadium under the lights, it's not just a baseball game, it's a measuring stick for October aspirations. The Braves come in scorching hot, and the Yankees, after a recent rough patch, are desperate to send a statement to the rest of the league. This one is must-watch. Let's talk Braves. Atlanta's lineup is a terrifying gauntlet right now, averaging 6.1 runs per game across their last 10 outings. Matt Olson is finally rediscovering his timing and rhythm, having hit 4 homers over his last 7 games. But the real story is Ronald Acuna Jr. He's batting .345 in July with a ridiculous OBP north of .420. His blend of power and speed is creating chaos for opposing pitchers, and Yankee Stadium is built for his right-center moonshots. Add in Austin Riley and Ozzie Albies turning the bottom of the order into a second heart of the lineup, and you've got a team that can hang a crooked number in any inning. On the hill for Atlanta, look for Max Fried to take the mound. He's been absolutely locked in since returning from his brief stint on the IL. Over his last 4 starts, Fried has posted a 1.89 ERA with 29 strikeouts to just 4 walks. He'll be facing a Yankee team that has been feast or famine lately. Fried's calm demeanor, cutter command, and devastating curveball will be key against righty mashers like Judge and Stanton. Now flip the script to the Yankees. It's been a volatile ride lately. They're just 3-7 in their last 10 and have struggled to find consistency in their pitching staff. Jarrett Cole is still working his way back, and without him, the rotation has lacked an ace presence. Clark Schmidt is expected to get the ball in this one, and while he's shown flashes of brilliance, his 4.12 ERA and high whip against top-tier teams like Atlanta is a legitimate concern. His ability to keep the ball in the yard will be tested against this launch-happy Braves lineup. Offensively, the Yankees continue to live and die by the long ball. Aaron Judge remains the anchor, with 31 home runs and 8.982 OPS entering the series. But he needs help. Giancarlo Stanton's bat has cooled again, and Anthony Rizzo has been in a brutal slump, hitting under .200 over the past 3 weeks. If DJ LeMahieu and Gleyber Torres can't extend innings or make Fried work, the Yankees might be chasing shadows all night. Defensively, both teams are elite. The Braves lead MLB in defensive runs saved, and Michael Harris too is patrolling center field like a gazelle with a cannon. The Yankees, for their part, have tightened up the fundamentals, especially infield positioning and double play efficiency. But the edge still leans Atlanta's way, especially with how error-free they've played in close games. Let's talk bullpens. The Yankees' pen has been erratic, with Clay Holmes and Tommy Kahnle either lights out or disaster-prone. The Braves have the steadier group, with Raisel Iglesias anchoring the ninth and A.J. Minter and Joe Jimenez bridging innings with dominant stuff. If this game is tight late, trust Atlanta's relief arms just a little bit more. The betting markets have taken notice of Atlanta's firepower. The Braves are minus 135 favorites on the road, with the Yankees at plus 115. The total is sitting at 8.5, which feels a tick low given the offensive ceiling of both teams, especially in a homer-friendly park like Yankee Stadium. Over bettors will be watching the wind reports and hoping for some jet stream help out to left. Best bets. Let's lay it down. Atlanta Braves ML at minus 135 feels solid, especially with Fried on the bump and the Yankees' recent offensive inconsistencies. Over 8.5 is worth a shot given the slugging potential on both sides. For props, look at Ronald Acuna Jr. to record 2+ total bases, and Aaron Judge to homer plus 310 odds in most books. Another sharp play. Matt Olson to drive in a run. He's been clutch with RISP and thrives against righties like Schmidt. Final score prediction: Braves 6, Yankees 4. The Braves win the bullpen war, Fried out-duels Schmidt, and Acuna makes the highlight reels again. The Yankees stay dangerous, but tonight, Atlanta makes the Big Apple theirs. Two struggling National League clubs with wildly different expectations entering the season collide as the Arizona Diamondbacks travel to Busch Stadium to face the St. Louis Cardinals in a matchup that might not scream playoff intensity, but is absolutely loaded with betting value and layers worth peeling. On the surface, both squads hover in mediocrity, still trying to claw their way into relevance in the second half, but dig deeper and you'll find the D-backs slowly waking up behind their young arms and suddenly potent offense, while the Cardinals, well, they're the Cardinals, dangerous even when disappointing. This game isn't just about two teams trying to stay in the mix, it's about finding the right angle before the books adjust. Let's start with Arizona. Don't look now, but the D-backs have quietly won 6 of their last 9, and it's not a fluke. Corbin Carroll is starting to remember he's one of the most dynamic players in baseball, and Ketelmart continues to swing one of the most consistent bats in the National League. Add in Christian Walker's underappreciated slugging, .490 plus SLG, and this lineup becomes dangerous, especially against mediocre pitching. And that's exactly what they're going to see on the Cardinals' side, a rotation held together by duct tape and hope. Getting the ball for Arizona will likely be Brandon Pfaadt, the talented but inconsistent righty who flashes brilliance one start and gives up crooked numbers the next. But here's the thing, Pfaadt on the road has been sharper, especially against right-heavy lineups like the Cardinals. His strikeout stuff plays well here, and St. Louis has struggled with high-velocity fastballs and sharp sliders, which just so happen to be Pfaadt's bread and butter. Don't be shocked if he goes 6 innings with 7+ Ks, especially if he gets early run support. St. Louis, meanwhile, enters this one desperate for consistency. The lineup can still rake. Goldschmidt and Arenado remain dangerous in any count, and Mason Wynn has been a bright spot, but this isn't the same machine of past years. They're chasing pitches, stranding runners, and failing to generate big innings. Offensively, they've been middle of the pack in every metric over the past month, and they're getting absolutely no help from their starting rotation. That's where this game might crack wide open. On the hill for the Redbirds. Likely Lance Lynn or one of the back-end starters with inflated eras, dwindling velocity, and an inability to put hitters away. Arizona thrives against pitchers who struggle with command, particularly ones who allow fly balls. Don't forget that Chase Field suppresses power, but Busch Stadium does not, especially with the summer heat turning routine fly balls into souvenirs. Don't be surprised if someone like Walker or even Lourdes Gurriel Jr. goes deep here. Now let's talk betting angles, because this is where we cash in. First off, the total. Books might hang a 9 or 9.5 here, but both bullpens are prone to blowups. Arizona's pen has been wildly inconsistent and could be vulnerable late, especially if this game is close through 6. That screams over, especially considering the recent weather patterns, humid, hot, ball jumping out. Expect runs. But the real edge, Arizona moneyline. They're slight dogs here, but the matchup favors them in every way, starting pitcher, lineup form, even bullpen depth right now. You're likely getting value at plus 105 or better, and they've covered this kind of number in 4 of their last 5 road games. For player props, let's talk total bases and home run props. Christian Walker has excellent career numbers versus soft-tossing righties and is scorching the ball lately. We love his over 1.5 total bases, and sprinkle a small bet on a home run at plus 375 or better. Corbin Carroll. Look at his over 0.5 steals if you find it around plus 200. He's running again in the cards. Catcher situation is vulnerable. For St. Louis, the one guy worth looking at is Mason Wynn. His over 1.5 total bases could be sneaky at plus money, especially if he bats near the top of the order. If you're building an SGP same-game parlay, consider Arizona ML, over 9 runs, Walker to record a hit, fought 5+ strikeouts, Goldschmidt to walk, yes, walk props cash big if you know the pitcher's tendencies. The deeper you dive into this one, the more it feels like a Diamondbacks 6, Cardinals 4 kind of night. Arizona's youth, power, and pitching edge should carry the day, but don't be shocked if the Cards keep it interesting late, just enough for the over to hit and for your prop stack to cash. Final bet card for Beyond the Box Score viewers. Diamondbacks ML plus 105 or better. Over 9 runs. Christian Walker hour plus 375. Carroll SB plus 200. Total bases. Walker over 1.5, Win over 1.5. SGP, D-backs ML plus fought 5+ Ks plus Walker hit plus over 8.5 boosted. Stay sharp, bet smart, and don't blink, because the edge in this one lies in the little details. Arizona's getting hot, and the books haven't adjusted fast enough. Make 'em pay. If you're looking for a mismatch that might fly under the radar on the betting slate, the Colorado Rockies heading into Minnesota to take on the Twins is exactly that, but don't sleep on this one, because hidden value always lies where the public sees a blowout coming. At first glance, everything screams Twins. They're a playoff contending team with one of the most productive rotations in the American League and a quietly explosive offense. The Rockies, well, they've been stuck at the bottom of the NL West like concrete in quicksand, especially when they're away from the altitude of Coors Field. But let's break this game down properly and see where the real edge is hiding. The Rockies send left-hander Austin Gomer to the hill, a pitcher who has had moments of competence but has mostly struggled with consistency. His ERA north of 5.00 on the road tells you exactly what you need to know. He doesn't fare well when he leaves the safety of Denver. But what makes Gomer particularly vulnerable in this matchup is his inability to keep the ball in the yard. Righties are slugging over .500 against him, and this Twins team has been absolutely punishing lefties since the All-Star break. Ryan Jeffers, Carlos Correa, and Byron Buxton, if healthy, all have the kind of pull power that can turn Gomer's hanging sliders into fourth-inning fireworks. And if we're being honest, the Colorado bullpen isn't coming in to save him either. They're bottom 5 in bullpen ERA, WHIP, and strikeout-to-walk ratio. If Minnesota puts pressure on early, this could snowball in a hurry. Now let's flip it. The Twins are rolling with Pablo Lopez, and this is where the game becomes especially interesting for prop bettors. Lopez's strikeout rate is climbing back toward his career averages, and he's dominated soft-hitting teams like the Rockies all season. Colorado's lineup is near the basement in strikeouts per game, hard hit rate, and walk percentage. This is a dream spot for Lopez to go 6 or 7 strong with 8+ Ks, and we love this spot for both fantasy and betting purposes. Look for his strikeout prop around 6.5 and hammer the over with confidence. When it comes to the bats, the Twins have shown they can win games in multiple ways, with power, situational hitting, and basepath aggression. Meanwhile, the Rockies are just trying to scratch across 3 runs on the road. With Elehuris Montero, Ezequiel Tovar, and Nolan Jones showing some flashes, there's potential there, but the depth just isn't present. Brendan Rodgers has been slumping, and Chris Bryant's absence is still being felt. If they don't get to Lopez early, this could be a long night for Colorado. Expect Royce Lewis and Edouard Julien to also contribute offensively. Both guys have been tearing up fastballs and off-speed stuff inside the zone. Betting-wise, the moneyline is heavily tilted toward Minnesota at around -230, but the best value lies on the run line -1.5 and team total over 5.5. The Twins should have no trouble tagging Gomer and that shaky Rockies bullpen for at least 6 runs. You might even look at an alternate line of -2.5 if you're feeling aggressive, especially if you trust Pablo Lopez to go deep. 4. Props. Byron Buxton for a home run or total bases prop is live, and we also like Ryan Jeffers as a sneaky DFS or prop target. He's been smashing lefties all year. Final score prediction: Twins 7, Rockies 2. This is a complete mismatch on the mound, in the bullpen, and at the plate. Minnesota controls this from start to finish, and if you're stacking them in fantasy or loading up the SGP, you want to build around Lopez's Ks and the big righty bats mashing against Gomer. Let's talk about the heavyweight showdown that's got all the makings of a classic: the Los Angeles Dodgers hosting the Milwaukee Brewers under the bright lights of Chavez Ravine. When you've got two clubs with postseason aspirations and lineups that can flat out mash, this isn't just another July ballgame, this is a measuring stick moment. The Dodgers roll into this one with one of the most fearsome offenses in baseball, led by Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, 3 MVP-caliber bats that force pitchers into high-stress innings from pitch 1. They're hitting .260 as a team at home, with a slugging percentage north of .450, and their ops jumps nearly 40 points when facing right-handed pitching, which could spell trouble for Brewers starter Freddie Peralta. Peralta has elite stuff, no doubt, but he's also prone to giving up the long ball. And against this lineup in Dodger Stadium, that's a dangerous formula. He enters with a 3.87 ERA and a whip around 1.11, but he's allowed 14 home runs already and might be staring down a few more tonight if he's even a touch off with his command. Milwaukee, on the other hand, has been one of the most resilient teams in the NL. They've got a scrappy lineup headlined by Christian Yelich, who's finally showing flashes of his MVP form again, plus the likes of Willie Adames, William Contreras, and Bryce Terang providing timely hits and strong base running. The Brewers might not win with the flash of LA, but they win with grind, and that's been good enough to lead the NL Central for large chunks of the season. They're hitting .249 on the road, averaging just under 5 runs per game when traveling, and they've been surprisingly good in close games, with a 20-13 record in one-run matchups. That speaks to their bullpen, one of the best in baseball. Trevor Megill, Brian Hudson, and Joel Payamps have been lights out, and closer Devin Williams is expected to rejoin the team shortly, adding even more late-inning firepower. But tonight, they'll need to keep it close early and hope the pen can shut it down late. The Dodgers are countering with rookie sensation Gavin Stone, who's been electric over his last few starts. Stone has found his groove with that devastating changeup, holding hitters to a sub-.200 average and limiting walks. His last 3 starts at home. 2 earned runs total across 18 innings. The Brewers haven't seen him much, and unfamiliarity often favors the pitcher, especially one with Stone's movement and mound presence. If he can command early, keep the Brewers off balance with soft contact, and get 6 quality innings, this could tilt heavily in Law's favor. But don't sleep on Milwaukee's ability to manufacture runs. They're second in the NL in steals and always pressure the defense. When you dig into the advanced numbers, it paints a picture of 2 very different offensive philosophies. The Dodgers feast on power, leading the National League in home runs and slugging. The Brewers counter with contact, speed, and situational hitting, ranking among the league leaders in productive outs and stolen bases. It's the classic heavyweight versus scrapper duel, and it could come down to who controls the tempo in the first 5 innings. Betts is batting over .310 in July and looks locked in, and Ohtani's .612. Slugging versus right-handers is borderline unfair. If Peralta doesn't paint the corners perfectly, the long ball will be waiting. On the other side, Yelich's OBP over the last 30 days is north of .400, and Adames has quietly been raking, hitting .298 since the All-Star break with 3 clutch homers. In terms of betting value, the Dodgers are sitting as moderate favorites around -160 on the moneyline, with the total set at 8.5. That feels about right given the offensive firepower in play and the starting pitching matchup. If you're looking for edges, consider the Dodgers team total over 4.5, especially if Peralta's command is shaky early. Also worth a look, Shohei Ohtani to homer, as he's had a homer in 2 of his last 3 games and is squaring up everything right now. For props, Freddie Freeman to record 2+ total bases is solid value, as he's hitting .329 against power righties and has been torching fastballs up in the zone. As for Milwaukee, one sneaky prop to consider is William Contreras over 1.5 total bases. He's hitting .321 in July and has good splits versus changeup heavy arms like Stone. But the most intriguing bet might just be the Brewers plus 1.5 run line. They've been exceptional at keeping games close, and if it becomes a bullpen battle late, they've got the arms to go toe-to-toe with La. Prediction time. This one's going to be a nail-biter. Expect fireworks early from the Dodgers, but the Brewers grind it back late. Still, Law's star power and home field advantage should be enough to pull this out. Final score: Dodgers 6, Brewers 4. Watch out for a late home run to seal it, and expect the crowd at Dodger Stadium to bring that postseason energy. This one's got playoff vibes all over it, and you won't want to miss a single pitch. Seattle Mariners vs Houston Astros. This one's a late-night showdown with AL West implications, and both teams are surging into this matchup with something to prove. The Mariners, led by their lethal rotation and timely offense, are trying to claw their way back into the playoff picture, while the Astros, well, they're still the Astros, veteran experience, postseason pedigree, and a relentless approach even when they're not firing on all cylinders. Let's start with the Mariners. Logan Gilbert is expected to take the mound, and he's been rock solid over his last several outings. The lanky right-hander continues to pound the strike zone with his heavy fastball and deadly splitter that's generated one of the highest whiff rates in the American League. Gilbert has allowed just 6 earned runs over his last 4 starts, with 29 strikeouts and only 3 walks in that span. When he's commanding early in counts, Gilbert can go deep and shut down even elite offenses. That's huge against a team like Houston. At the plate, Seattle has leaned heavily on Julio Rodriguez, who is heating up post-All-Star break with a .342 average and 1.009 ops over the past 10 games. Cal Raleigh continues to be a switch-hitting power threat, and don't overlook Dylan Moore, who's quietly delivered key hits in recent clutch moments. This Mariners team has a solid blend of speed, power, and defensive reliability, especially with J.P. Crawford anchoring the middle infield and controlling the tempo defensively. Now to Houston. The Astros are countering with Framber Valdez, the ground ball machine. When Valdez is locked in, he keeps the ball on the ground, avoids hard contact, and works quick innings. But inconsistency has plagued him in recent weeks, his command is erratic, and he's given up 4 or more runs in 3 of his last 5 starts. If his curveball isn't biting or his sinker drifts up in the zone, Seattle's lineup can make him pay. The Mariners are a patient group, and they'll make him work. Offensively, the Astros remain dangerous. Kyle Tucker has continued his MVP-caliber campaign with 22 homers and 70-plus RBIs. He's punishing fastballs and hanging off-speed alike. Yordan Alvarez, even at less than 100%, is still one of the most intimidating lefty bats in the game. Add in Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve, 2 playoff-tested veterans, and this Houston lineup can turn a game around in a flash. But their biggest issue has been driving in runners with 2 outs. Over the last 2 weeks, they're hitting just .211 with RISP in late innings. That's a red flag against a Mariners bullpen that's one of the most reliable in the majors. Speaking of bullpens, Seattle has the clear edge. Andrés Muñoz is throwing absolute fire late in games, and the setup trio of Stanek, Spear, and Saucedo is putting up elite metrics. Houston's pen has been volatile lately, with Ryan Presley and Brian Abreu both having blown saves in the past 10 days. If this game is close heading into the 8th, the advantage swings strongly towards Seattle. Weather shouldn't be an issue under the roof at Minute Maid Park, but hitting conditions do favor power right-handed bats. That makes guys like Mitch Garver and Ty France sneaky X factors, especially against Valdez's sinker-heavy arsenal. Let's talk numbers. The Mariners are 11-6 in games where Gilbert starts on the road. The Astros, meanwhile, have only won 3 of Valdez's last 8 home starts. Betting markets opened with Houston as slight favorites at -120, but the line is drifting toward a pick'em. The over-under sits at 8.0, and with both bullpens factoring in heavily, the under feels like a sharp angle here. Best bets. Under 8.0 total runs, 2 quality starters, strong bullpens, and a dome environment make the under appealing. Julio Rodriguez over 1.5 total bases. He's seeing the ball incredibly well, especially versus lefties. Framber Valdez over 2.5 walks. Command has been shaky, and Seattle's patient approach could push him deep into counts. Final prediction. This one is going to come down to execution in the middle innings. Expect Gilbert to deliver a strong outing, and for Seattle's bullpen to lock things down late. The Mariners will scratch out just enough offense against Valdez and company to steal a road win in a low-scoring affair. Seattle Mariners 4, Houston Astros 2. If you're tired of surface-level picks and soft takes, Beyond the Box Score is where real fans come for real insight. We don't do lazy predictions, we do deep dives. So if you're all about smart bets, sharp angles, and calling out what the box score doesn't tell you, then hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below with your best bets or boldest predictions for July 19th, whether it's a team total you love, a strikeout prop flying under the radar, or a home run pick you swear is due. I want to hear it. Let's build this community of sharp fans and smarter conversations. And if this breakdown gave you that edge you've been looking for, smash that like button, share it with your betting group chats, and check back tomorrow. We do this daily. Because at Beyond the Box Score, we don't just watch the game, we read between the lines.